Fantasy football is about choices. Will it be James's expertise?
He's going to be the only guy on the field to get the ball. He's a 3-down workhorse to get the ball.
Or Chris's insight?
But even if they trade him, I still don't think they're going to become a run-first team.
The choice is in your hands. We give you the option.
Welcome everyone, how is it going? I'm your host Nick, hope you all are doing well. Today we have a huge show lined up for you. We're talking all about wide receivers. What wide receivers will have a good year, what wide receivers are the best in the league, and so much more. Why don't we just head right into it? James, Chris, are you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
Ready.
All right. Well, for our first topic, I thought we start out with a bang. So, gentlemen, your first topic of the day is what team has the best wide receiver core in the NFL or fantasy-wise? Chris,
Easy question.
What team are you picking?
I mean, I guess we can guess what James is going to pick just based on his attire, but
Very simple.
For me, when I broke it down and I looked at all the wide receiving corps throughout the league, and when you use the word core, you think of a group of players that are going to grow together for a good amount of seasons. The Bengals, the Cincinnati Bengals, have that in Tyler Boyd, who's 26. He finished as wide receiver 35 last season, 841 yards, 4 TDs. They got T. Higgins, 22 years old, 6 TDs last season, and newly drafted wide receiver Jamarrchase, who already has a history with my comeback player of the year award winner in Joe Burrow. Everything about what Cincy has. I know you think it's Dak. But
I mean, if we're talking comeback play, I don't know. It's going to be close.
Huge. Yeah, for sure.
I
There's
like
going to be a
both.
lot of good candidates. I mean, there's no Alex Smith this year, but if there's one guy that's close enough to Alex Smith, it's probably Dak. but everything about what Cincy has going on in that wide receiver room with those three tell me that in the right system with Joe Burrow as their QB, that this could possibly be the best wide receiver core, not only in the NFL, in the AFC North, and beyond. Boyd, when he was with Burrow last season, he was averaging 12.8 fantasy points per game, which on a 16-game pace would have put him at wide receiver 13. That's right behind A.J. Brown. As for T. Higgins, he would have finished right behind CeedeeLamb in a 16-game pace. He was averaging about 11.12 points per game. Now you add Uno to the duo of Boyd and Higgins in that offense. The potential is possibly 3 top 25 wide receivers, and that's a core to me.
Wow. You know what, Phil? Chris, sorry. I like that core. I like those three. I think they're good. I think they're going to be great. I had a lot of T. Higgins last year, and I had some Boyd as well. So I didn't get chased much this year, unfortunately. But I like it. Unfortunately, I think the Cowboys are going to be better. I mean,
I called it.
I mean, you got amaricooper, you got CeedeeLamb, and you got Michael Gallup. They make up a deadly combination of speed, talent, yards after the catch potential, and contested catch specialists. They are really good, the three of them together. Last year alone, if I'm looking at my numbers here, Cooper had 1,114 yards, 5 touchdowns. CeedeeLamb had 935 and 5 touchdowns. And Gallup had 843 and 5 touchdowns. And they did that mainly with that guy. What was his name? That old quarterback that is now the starter in Chicago. What was his name, Chris?
Andy Dalton, the
That's
Red
right.
Rifle.
So imagine had they had Mr. Dak Prescott the whole season, what those numbers would have looked like. I mean, I think for sure they could have had a 3 wide receiver set with 1,000 yards apiece. They were almost there. They were close. And you're adding in an extra game now. So I still think that they could do that this year. Just looking at some of the stuff from last year that they did, Cooper has been open on 59.9% of his single coverage targets since 2018. Gallup has been strong on the catching point, ranking 18th in contested catch percentage since entering the league. And CeedeeLamb did the most of his damage in the slot last year as he ranked second in slot yards with 877. So, I mean, you can see that these three are going to be good. I agree. Since he's going to have just as good of a three, that's going to be close between them. It'll probably come down to maybe some garbage time points and touchdowns or yardage from the three. Maybe Cincy might be a little bit more in that situation than the Cowboys will, because I'm expecting the Cowboys to win the division. So I guess we're going to have to agree to disagree on this one.
Yeah, no, I'm not denying that the Cowboys aren't going to have a good wide receiving corpse. But when you use the word core, I don't really see it out of the Dallas Cowboys as, Gallup's on his last year. Amaricooper is contracted through 2025, but there is an out for 2022. So wide receiver corps, yes, I could see it with the Cowboys, but wide receiver core in all aspects of the term core, I don't see it with Dallas.
That's if they don't re-sign anybody. I mean, I get it. They could go. You're right. We could lose Gallup. The Cowboys could lose Gallup or Cooper, depending on what happens with contracts and money. Understand?
Bell.
How did? I thought I stole the bell away from you. What happened?
No, it's still in my possession, and I'll get another one if you steal it. Okay, don't worry. Got lots of bells lined up for you guys.
Like it.
But anyway,
I guess at the end there, Chris, we're just saying get as many Cowboys or Cincy players as you can. I guess that's what we'd say.
I guess.
I mean, go Cowboys, go. That's what we always say. I'm gonna stick with that.
Oh wait, hold on. One thing, Nick. If you had to choose which one you think is better, go ahead, Nick. Which one do you think?
Oh, he's biased. Look at his attire.
It's a hard pick. I'm gonna go with
call Jerry Jones and ask him too.
I'm gonna go with the Cowboys on this one. Okay, it's a hard pick.
I win. Perfect. That's all I needed. Continue.
Nick and his biased takes every episode.
I mean, I don't have that many Cowboys on my team. I have one of each on different teams.
And what does that say?
That means he drafted horribly.
Oh, wow. It's possible. It's possible. I'm not going to lie. All right, gentlemen. Well, that was a fun topic. Let's get into our next one. Let me take down those names real quick because, I'm going to add them to my team. But our next topic, we're going to talk about newly acquired wide receiver for the New England Patriots, Nelson Agholor.
Can't believe Nelson Agholor's a topic.
It's going to be
Let's go.
Well, I mean,
the last time he was a topic was when he was trying to catch a baby, wasn't it?
No, it was when the guy who said he was catching babies out of the burning house, and he's like, "I caught it, not like Nelson Agholor."
Yes, that's the last time he was relevant.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, gentlemen, Nelson Agholor did have a good year last year, though, with Las Vegas Raiders. And now, my question to you is, can Nelson Agholor be a number one wide receiver in New England? And is he going to help you and your fantasy teams? Let's go with James. Do you think Nelson Agholor can help you this year?
So, you asked two parts to that question. One, is he number one wide receiver for New England? And two, can he help you with fantasy? So, as for part one, yes, he is the number one wide receiver in New England because there's nobody else. To part two of that question, no, he's not going to help you much in fantasy aside from maybe a flex option. Reason for that, I've got two words. Cam Newton. I think that should be the end of my discussion and conversation. That's all I have to say.
That's a pretty big word.
That's my argument. There it is. It's Cam.
Nick, can you some stats from last year from Cam Newton? Can you tell me how he did?
Yeah, Cam Newton's stats last year. So he threw just 8 touchdowns in 15 games that he played, and he had 2,657 yards. But he also threw 10 interceptions. Yeah. So
beautiful. So he threw more interceptions to the other team than he did to his own guys.
That's a bad ratio.
Beautiful.
Bad ratio.
Now, he did battle COVID, and then he came back. He said he wasn't the same. I get that. He had a lot of rushing yards, a lot of rushing touchdowns. I think he had 12 rushing touchdowns or something like that. He was up there. But, yeah, so the numbers aren't great. He hasn't been a very good player quarterback-wise for a while. You could tell, I think actually in his entire career, he's never thrown for more than 25 touchdowns in a season. So
even his MVP year?
Oh, sorry, once. Sorry, you're right. He did it one time in his entire career. He's only had one time of throwing 25 passing touchdowns, over 20 or over. Other than that, it's always been under. The other reason why I don't think that Agholor is going to be that much of an option is because of two other words, Henry and Smith. They went out and signed these big free agents in Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. The last time New England employed two tight ends and they were able to use a two tight end system, there were two big guys by the name of Gronk and Aaron Hernandez, and those guys took a lot of targets, a lot of touchdowns, took everything away from everybody else. I assume they're going to try to go back to something like that. I'm not 100% obviously, but I assume that's what they're going to try to do by signing and putting all the money into those tight ends. So, for me, that's the problem I see. And New England, it's a shaky team. Now, if they do go to the rookie, that could change some things. But with Cam Newton being the projected starter as of right now, I'm just a little worried that he's not going to be able to put up the numbers that he did last year. And I don't trust Cam's arm enough to get him the ball. So I look at him as a boom or bust flex.
Nicholas, in half PPR scoring, can you tell me where Nelson Agholor finished with the Raiders last season?
Yeah, he finished as wide receiver 30 in 0.5 PPR, yeah.
Whew. Wide receiver 30. Now, James, how many receptions do you think a top 30 wide receiver would need to have to finish in that spot? Before you answer, I'm going to give you some of the players that finished around him, and then you give me your answer, all right?
Okay.
You got Cooper Kupp, finished wide receiver 27 with 92 receptions. Chris Godwin, wide receiver 31, 65 receptions. My boy, we just talked about him, T. Higgins, wide receiver 29, 67 receptions. So Nelson can't catch a baby. Agholor finished as wide receiver 30 with how many receptions do you think?
Okay, so before I answer the question, what he did in Las Vegas was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Problem is, there was no one else again to throw to there because...
I mean, they did draft Ruggs.
How did he do?
They had
how did he do?
But I'm just saying. So,
Okay.
how many?
Anyways,
what's your
I'll answer
guess?
your
How many
question.
receptions do you think a top 30 wide receiver needed
Well, you
to
said
have?
90, 60, and 60. I mean, okay, I'll say 75.
48. 48 receptions. That put him on an
Wow.
average of 18.67 yards per reception. You can say it's Cam Newton all you want, but last year he completed 53.8% of his deep ball passes, which put him at fourth for the position. So given the fact that Agholor can stretch the field and Cam still has the arm strength to put it down there, and then you bring up Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith and the whole Aaron Hernandez and Gronkowski thing, but you also forgot about a wide receiver that played at that time by the name of Randy Moss, who, I don't know about you, he had a big year as well.
It wasn't every
But
year.
now
It was
one year, now 1 year was big. Was it not big?
Are you saying
It
that
was
Nelson
big.
Aguilar is Randy Moss? Is that
No,
what you want to put on record?
I'm just
Please tell me
saying,
that's what you're saying. Please.
No, I'm saying that your argument of them drafting the two tight ends is going to take away targets when that's just not the case.
Dude, they're going to use Nelson Aguilar to run deep, and then they're going to throw underneath to the tight
That's
ends,
it.
and that's where all the yards are going to be.
I don't know.
Okay.
But even if Cam Newton's the guy or Mac Jones is the guy, because we've been hearing a lot of good stuff about Mac Jones coming into the year, I still
Mac Jones
think
can
Nelson
change things.
Agholor is going to have that fantasy value with them because Cam Newton can still get the ball downfield. Mac Jones can get the ball downfield. I personally think Cam Newton is done because in the words of Cam Newton, one finger, one pinky, one thumb, he's done.
You know what? If Mac Jones gets the job, I will agree with you that he'll be better. But until then, if it's Cam, it's not happening.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, what about Jacoby Myers? I know we were talking about Nelson Agholor, but Jacoby Myers has been a favorite target for Cam last season at least, and now they're talking big talks in the offseason that Jacoby Myers is something big. What do you guys think there?
Just takes away more yardage from Aguilar being able to catch things.
Yeah, it's like wide receivers are like the running backs in New England. Like you don't really want to own them. You don't know week in and week out what's going to happen. So it's kind of start at your own risk.
So Chris, you don't want to own the running backs. You don't want to own the wide receivers. You don't want to own Cam Newton.
No.
What do you want to own? The New England coach? Can you get fantasy coach points?
Yeah, exactly. If I'm picking one wide receiver in New England to me, it's Nelson Agholor
right,
out of
right.
all of them.
I mean, yes, I'd have to take him as the one. You're right. If I have to take one out of New England, you're right. I'll give you that. But I'm also no, I don't want to take any
Ring
if
the
I
bell.
don't have to.
He said I'm right. Ring the bell.
All right. Very interesting. You know what? Let's go to our next topic. We're going to head to a very special team for one of our analysts. I mean, he's kind of a big fan. This is Chris's favorite team.
Kinda.
No,
Dallas
we talked
again?
about you
Oh,
too
wait,
much.
Chris.
We're going to Chris, okay? We're talking about the Saints, and in specific, we're talking about Michael Thomas. And we're going to talk about what path do we see Michael Thomas going on right now? Do we still see a continuing downfall?
Oh, come on. Put some respect on his
he's
name.
having a
with that
downfall. He's not the
downfall
same
talk.
Michael Thomas.
He had one injured
can you let me
year.
finish
He
the
had an
question?
injured year. You're calling it downfall?
Can you let me finish the question?
Get
Thank
out of
you.
here.
Are we going to see him go on a
Downfall.
continued spiral downfall, or are we going to see a spiraling
You
downfall?
had spiral.
Or-
You jerk. Go
Or
on.
are we going to see the old Michael Thomas that we know is a stud? And you know what? Since Chris was talking through my intro there, James, I'm going to you first. You know, that's right.
Beautiful. I was hoping you'd let me start so Chris
you
can
can just sit there and
finish
wait
or
and hear
cry,
all the
whichever
bad
way we
talk.
do
Here we
this.
go.
So I mean, I kind of agree with Chris. You can't really say it's a full downward spiral for the guy. I mean, he's still a legitimate, unbelievable wide receiver. He's what? Chris, how old is he? 28, 27? somewhere there?
20, I think 28, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, he's still got years on him. He's got everything. I think the reason why the downward spiral is being sort of said there is because Drew Brees is gone, and we really don't know what's going to happen there right now. So, if Jameis Winston wins the job, then yes, I believe that Michael Thomas will be the Michael Thomas of old, and Jameis Winston will basically use Thomas just like he did Mike Evans and or Godwin and make them top wide receivers again, and he'll be fine, no issues. I have an issue is if Taysom Hill becomes the quarterback to start, which I still think is going to
He
happen.
still hasn't gotten it right. Like throughout the
Sorry?
It's a
I
hard
haven't
one
gotten
for
it
you.
right. It's never going to happen. That's just the way it is. So if Hill wins the job, I think that'll be a problem for Michael Thomas's yards. I think that'll be a problem for his TDs. I still think he's going to get the balls thrown at him. I just don't know if it's going to be as often and as well as Breeze would have, because I mean Breeze's completion percentage was really good back then. So
Ridiculous.
that's what I think is the biggest issue for me, is just that I just don't trust Hill being able to keep him in the top 5. I mean, assuming that it is Hill, like I'm suggesting, I think he'll be a 12 to 20 range wide receiver. He's still the number one guy there. He's still going to get targets like crazy. They're still going to make schemes for him to try to get him the ball as much as they can, because he's a wide receiver and a prima donna wide receiver. You don't want to not get the guy the ball. That's how you do things. So, I mean, he's going to get it. They're going to throw at him. He'll going to make his catches. But I don't, with Taysom Hill, I don't see him as a top 5. If Jameis Winston gets in there, though, I mean, he could be a steal, because I'm seeing a lot of people get this guy. And what, Chris, we did a couple of drafts. He was what, round 4, round 5?
He was falling
somewhere
around
there?
5, but more dynasty drafts. I haven't really done a redraft where I could see where he's going to drop, but more dynasty
Yeah,
drafts.
so
he's been
I mean, that's going to change things, I think, in my eyes. But like I said, it all depends on the quarterback for me. But if it's Winston, he's got the potential. If it's not, I don't think he does. I think he'll be lower, out of the top 10 and before top 20, somewhere that range. But Chris, I will drop it to you now, sir. Why don't you talk about your boy? Go ahead.
I think he can still produce as a fantasy wide receiver. You're going to get him at the value. You're going to get him. You're going to pick him. You're going to draft him at a good spot. We've seen what, like you said, we've seen what Jameis Winston has done by making two wide receiver ones in a season out of Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. So we know the arm talent's there for him.
And that was when he was blind in his eyes. Now he
Yeah,
actually
exactly.
got lasers, so you should be able to see Thomas a lot
You'll
better.
be able to, exactly. So less interceptions, hopefully. But and then you brought up Taysom Hill and the fact that Taysom Hill might take a bit of his edge off. But while Taysom Hill was the quarterback last season, in the 4 games that he played with Michael Thomas, he still fed Michael Thomas the ball. He still had the targets, the receptions, and the yards. Nick, can you give us those numbers that Thomas put up when Hill was playing under center?
Yeah, for sure. So in week 11, he had 9 receptions on 12 targets, 104 yards, and he was wide receiver 13 with 19.4 PPR points.
That's crazy.
In week 12, he had 2 receptions on 7 targets, only 50 yards, and he was wide receiver 46. In week 13, he had 9 receptions again on 12 targets, 105 yards, wide receiver 16 with 19.5 PPR points. And in week 14, he had 8 receptions on 8 targets, 84 yards, wide receiver 22 with 16.4 points.
Yeah, so those are he's getting the production. He's getting, like I said, he's getting the targets, he's getting the receptions, he's getting the yards. I think the only spot he might slack in is the touchdown output, because once they get into that 10 to 5 yard green zone, red zone, whatever you want to call it, when Taysom Hill is the quarterback, the offense tends to run through Taysom Hill instead of him trying to fit it into the tight windows to these other wide receivers. So in that stretch of those 4 games with Taysom Hill, he was at wide receiver 15, averaging at about 16.1 PPR points. So it's possible that he can sustain a valuable output, but with Hill at quarterback, his ADP is right around where you're going to get him. But with Winston, I think he'll smash it.
So you're saying you agree with me then? Is that what I'm hearing?
A little bit. I think he's going to be fantasy relevant either way. Just
well, I didn't say he wasn't. I didn't say he wasn't. I just said he's not going to be that top 5 guy that everyone remembers.
I think he'll finish in the top 10 with either quarterback.
Okay, so you got him a little higher than I do. Okay, I mean I got him outside the top 10, but I mean that's okay. I think that'll be a good little test to see what happens. But yeah, you're right. He's going to get his targets. I mean, there's no one else to throw to. And they lost. Emmanuel Sanders is not there anymore either. Who's the number 2 wide receiver there?
Tre'Quan.
Yeah.
Tre'Quan Smith.
Yeah, he'll get his targets.
Yep, he'll eat.
All right. Well, I'm interested to see which quarterback gets picked firstly. And secondly, if Michael Thomas can be back to that stud Michael Thomas that we all know. For Chris's sake, I hope it is. But, at the same time, I don't like the Saints, so I'm going with it not happening. But for our last topic.
Again, with your biased takes, Nick.
There's no bias
Nick,
there.
I agree with you on that.
Okay. There's no bias there. I don't like the Saints, so I'm not picking. That's a bias. You don't like the Saints. That's a bias.
You don't like the Cowboys, and it's the same
but
thing.
I'm not giving my take on the Cowboys all the time.
Anyways, for our last topic.
I need a bell for you.
No, that's my job. I only get the bell, okay? All right, for our last topic, everyone, we're going to go to something that's very important in the NFL right now. A lot of Packers fans are worried about it, and a lot of fantasy owners in general are worried about it. We're talking about Davante Adams, but we're talking about because of the speculations going on that Aaron Rodgers may not play this year due to retirement or due to the fact that he's leaving the Packers. Is Davante Adams still a wide receiver in the top 5 of fantasy? James, do you still trust Davante Adams to be that top 5 wide receiver if Aaron Rodgers is not there?
Well, let's put it this way. I've not wanted him to be top 5 the last few years, and I was hoping he wouldn't be, and he's been proving me wrong. But that's also because I am a Cowboy fan and I hate the Packers, so we're just going to go with that, and it's the same route Nick's been going.
Yeah, it's a good route. I like it. You should,
But, I mean, with Rodgers, he's unbelievable. He's number 1 right now. He needs to be dethroned. He's the guy. But without Rodgers, I don't think so. I don't see it happening. I'm a little scared of without Rodgers being there, if he's going to be able to put up the yardage and the touchdowns that he's been able to do. I mean, the backup QBs right now are Jordan Love, who they don't like, and they signed Blake Bortles, who we all know. I mean,
they don't like. I think is a bit of a stretch, James.
I mean, I don't know if they like him anymore.
Do you have anything to
been,
back that up, or is it just?
I've been hearing some rumors that they didn't like
I've
the
been
way he
hearing
played last year.
rumors.
I mean, there's different things
He
going
barely
around, but
played
okay.
last year. He was a rookie.
They can't say much about him right now because they're hoping Rodgers comes back. And if he doesn't come back, they're going to have to start this guy, and they don't know what they have. Anyways.
So you're saying it's just lip service to Aaron Rodgers, that they're saying they don't like Jordan Love?
It could be. That could be too. You never know. But
Stretch.
Nick, with Adams stats without Aaron Rodgers, what are they?
Adams' stats without Aaron Rodgers is he's played 7 games without him, 41 receptions, 489 yards, and only 4 TDs.
All right. So in standard points, that would be an average of 10.41 points per game.
Don't play standard, so that's moot.
That's okay. I'm still giving them out just for the guys. I'm going to go through all 3-point systems. Relax. So last season in standard, he had 17.4 points per game, and he was first. So his 10.41 would have put him 14th in 2020 in standard. In a half-point PPR, he had 13.34 points per game. Last season in half-point, he had 21.5, again in first. The 13 would have put him at 15th in 2020. And in full-point PPR, he would have had 16.2 points with those stats. Last season, he had 25.6 points and was in first again. And he would have finished 14th if he would have finished with the 16th. So you could see right there, I mean, he's still top 20, still top 15 actually. But, I mean, without Rodgers, he does drop. There is a decline. Again, this is the same in the Michael Thomas situation. I mean, Rodgers enhances and makes you so much better, just like Breeze enhanced and made Michael Thomas so much better. They are obviously the number ones on this team. They're going to get the targets. So is there a chance these numbers are higher than they should be? Sure. That could very well happen as they grow and get a little bit more chemistry with each other. But at the end of the day, I just don't think these quarterbacks are Aaron Rodgers' caliber. I don't think they're close to that, and I don't think they'll be able to make Davante Adams that number one guy again. I mean, I see him out of the top 5. I'm probably looking maybe low 10, but probably closer to in between the 10-15 range is where he'll probably finish.
Hot take.
That's without Rodgers. If Rodgers is there, then you don't have to worry.
That's a fire take. I mean, it's not going to be easy, James. Fortunately, this time you bring up some very good points with Davante.
Good. Let's just end it there.
Stats, unfortunately, that you brought up are a little. You didn't really give us much context behind those stats. You left out that the quarterback that was throwing him the ball was Brett Hundley, who never played again in the NFL. So there's a little bit to that. I think.
Okay, so compare Blake Hundley to Blake Bortles.
Blake Bortles, perfect that you brought that up. Blake Bortles in Chicago made Allen Robinson 151 targets, 80 receptions, 1,400 yards, and
What
14
year was that?
TDs.
What year was
Doesn't
that?
matter. You always bring up
okay.
this, what year's that? What year's that? What year's that? But what
I'm
year
just
was
curious.
the year that
I'm
Davante
curious,
Adams didn't have
many
Aaron
years
Rodgers?
did Blake Bortles throw last year? What did he have last year? How many? Can you? I think you and I had the same amount of yards as Blake Bortles did last year, and touchdowns.
Ultimately, Davante Adams, he's QB proof. He's going to get fed the ball. If the Packers absolutely know that Aaron Rodgers is out, it's going to be the next man up, which is Jordan Love. He will get the maximum reps needed to build that chemistry with a star wide receiver like Davante Adams. Like I said, in order for him to finish in the top 5, it isn't going to be easy, but it's definitely possible in that offensive scheme. The 8 games that Adams played without Rodgers, when he suffered that broken, I think it was the broken clavicle. Was it against Dallas that he broke it? Was that the game?
I think so. Yep.
Yeah, he had the broken clavicle. The 8 games that he played without Rodgers, he actually averaged more receptions and yards per game, while his touchdown total of 10 that year was split between the two. This was all with the quarterback, Brett Hundley, who I mentioned, who never played another game, never had another start outside of that year. Nick, what were the averages that Davante Adams had between the two quarterbacks in that one year? Can you give that to me, please?
Adams averaged 8.88 targets a game compared to his 7.66 targets with Rodgers in 2017.
So Adams has averaged 8.43 targets a game in his entire career. So in that time that he spent without Rodgers, he was averaging above average. It's almost as if a not as capable quarterback tends to feed the star receiver on the
You have
field.
to feed him. There's nobody else in the team.
Exactly.
But he
And
still
your
didn't
argument
put up-
all the time is
he didn't put up
when
the
I bring up
QB1
something
numbers.
and you say
His-
oh, there's no other targets. That's why he's there. There's no other targets. That's why Davante Adams is still going to be a top 5 wide receiver.
He won't be top 5, but he'll get his targets. He just won't be top 5. They won't be able to get down the field with them. No, it's not gonna happen. Not with those QBs.
It doesn't matter. He's QB proof. The guy gets open. It's what he does. It
Okay.
doesn't matter who's throwing them the ball. You can put
We
the
don't know
jump-
that because he's only had 8 games without that superstar quarterback throwing him the ball.
It's-
We're gonna find
it's-
out when there's a.
Well,
an
I just
average
gave you the
quarterback
numbers of
throwing
what
him
he
the
can
ball.
put up with a guy who's not even played in the NFL. Again, he's put up more targets per game.
Eight games on both our sides, not enough to really say that. And plus, Jordan Love is not
okay.
Brent Headley,
Now
so
the
we have no
sample
idea what
size.
Jordan
He's
Love
better
will be
than
able to
Brett
do
Hundley.
either.
Exactly.
How could you say that?
I just know.
Okay, all right, sure.
All right. I love the fierce competition between you two. It's awesome. Honestly,
Doesn't matter. Rodgers is coming back anyway.
Well, that'll
for-
change everything, and then he's back at
definitely-
1. So
I definitely
fine.
agree there. I think Rodgers coming back. He honestly will lose too much money if he does decide to leave and not play. So I don't see him taking that option. It's only a matter of if he'll be on the Packers or not. But I don't think they have enough. Teams don't have enough to trade for him right now, other than a few out there. So we'll see what happens. Honestly, again, my theory here. I have Davante Adams on my team. I want him to do good. So here we go.
Bias take.
I got to stick with the program here.
If Chris and I had your theory, everybody would have to do good because I think we have shares in almost everybody in the amount of leagues
That's
that
why
we
you
have.
guys are there, and I'm the host of the show, and I just, I get to say my opinion here. But anyways, that was a great show. Thank you, everyone, for coming to tune in, listening, or watching. Make sure to check out our next episodes wherever you listen to your podcast, and as well as on YouTube. And don't forget to follow us on our social media links for even more content to help you win your fantasy seasons. You can find us on Instagram at The Option Podcast, on Twitter at The Option Pod, and on TikTok at The Option Fantasy Football. That's all we got for you tonight, guys. Have a good one. We'll see
Fantasy
you next time.
football is about choices.
Take care, guys.
Will it be James's expertise or Chris's insight? The choice is in your hands. We give you the option.